Hey, what's up, fam? All right, today we're going to be talking about a controversial and thought of movie, Dragon Ball Evolution, actually.
That's right, and we're doing another Blu-ray review. It's full custom hot dog. Back at it again, talking about the 2009 film Dragon Ball Evolution with Rax,
Another
brother man,
collab with the amazing full custom hot dog. Not to be confused with the slightly custom hot dog.
or even a full custom salami.
I agree. So, what did you think about this movie? Last week we talked about Bleach and how it was a really good movie, actually. Did you,
Yeah, and this is kind of the opposite in a way. And unlike last time, this is probably one of the few movies that we'll be talking about where I actually know some of the source material.
yeah, yeah. Some people would say that this is very accurate to the source material. Some people would say not even close. I think
No,
99% of, I think 99% of people would say, "What's Dragon Ball?"
yeah, and if you haven't watched our previous one on Bleach, check that out. The basic gist is that Rax is a high priest of the Church of Anime and Mango, and I am just a lowly gaijin attempting to ruthlessly penetrate his world with my ignorance.
You're
So,
young Kohai. Let's go
and
with probably the easiest to talk about. What did you think was good about the movie? Anything?
uh, you know, in talking about this with you earlier, the only thing I don't hate about this movie is the casting. Like, there's a lot of bad things about this movie, but I don't think the casting is the worst part of it because I don't know. I think everything was fine. It's just it's unfortunate that the rest of the movie happened to those poor people.
I think some of the CGI was all right. A couple of their localization ideas weren't that bad. Like seeing the capsules when they're used, actually kind of like morph into whatever they were. Like when you see Bulma use it to make the four wheeler instead of just being a
The
puff of smoke and
trike,
it's there. Yeah, and you see it kind of
yeah, that was cool.
transform into it. And then Goku's training, like he's running along while they're driving, or he's doing handstands with one arm while also doing martial arts stuff while they're driving. I mean, most of it is while they're driving, but they try to do their own martial arts kind of style training bit while it's still kind of feeling like Dragon Ball. I mean, that's
It's cool,
really.
and the backpack bit I thought worked pretty well and translated pretty good for the screen for the most part.
I mean, that's for the most part kind of it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he started out in high school where he was like getting bullied and uh I can't remember Roshi's master's name, but he's got the he's like some old black guy in this movie, and
It's Ernie Hudson from
I was
Ghostbusters.
talking about the character, not
Oh.
the actor. But yeah, they did a lot of silly stuff. They did a lot of silly
I didn't even
things.
mind the high school stuff because I feel like if you're going to try to Americanize and adapt, you've got to kind of. Because one of the questions with Goku, if he's supposed to be an American teenager or whatever, is like, well, is he homeschooled? Does he go to school? Where does he go? When does he go to the bathroom? There's all these questions that have to be answered. And unfortunately, high
They,
school is the answer to a lot of those
I
questions.
think some of the ideas they had were good. It was just so horribly executed that there was no hope for this movie, and the fact that the Kamehameha became like a wind blast, and it was like we're gonna learn how to bend the elements. You can tell that the people in charge of this didn't really know anything about Dragon Ball, anything at
Well, that's
all.
one of the weird things too. Is I've been reading about it, and the writer is Ben Ramsey, who said he was a big Dragon Ball fan, and apparently the first script he wrote, they said would have been too costly to produce. So that's why we've got this thing, which budgeted at around $30 million. But Ben Ramsey did a movie in '98, so 10 years prior, called The Big Hit, which was one of Mark Wahlberg's first starring roles that I think is actually really solid. That's going to be an episode on my channel eventually. But
Ooh.
so going off that, I would have been like, oh, I'd look forward to a Dragon Ball movie from this guy because he wrote a movie I really enjoy. But it's very bizarre to hear someone say they're a fan and then this is a weird piece here.
Yeah, like they dropped the ball on so many like, key things. Like Roshi doesn't look like anything like Roshi. We were earlier looking at the Taiwanese version of Dragon Ball, and they did when the Taiwanese did a live action movie, and they actually got like Roshi like looking pretty close. He just didn't have the beard, whereas this one kind of looked like an Asian version of George Lopez, and didn't really give off any Roshi vibes. Same thing with Yamcha. Nobody
You know,
really
that's
kind of
a
seemed like who they were supposed to be.
that's an interesting point too because this is the third live action adaptation of Dragon Ball. There was the Taiwanese version that Rax mentioned, which I remember being pretty fun. We'll probably visit it at some point. And there's also a South Korean version, which looks completely insane. That looks completely off the rails. So
That's the one where he's got like the gelled bull, like horn hair, right?
yeah, and then but they also do the pig guy, and then
Oh yeah.
the little pink cat thing. Like all that's in there, and it looks weird. It looks like it's from some surrealist music video from the '90s. Very bizarre.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch that sometime. But the
Yeah.
movie is an absolute train wreck. The only thing really that it ever did was it was so bad it brought Akira Toriyama out of retirement, and it's why Dragon Ball Super exists. So I mean, I guess the fans should be happy. They should call up this dude and like, thank you for making this bad of a movie that I that the author after like 20 years of being retired is like, all right, I'm back in the game. It's just pretty
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Everything about it is pretty funny. What
It's
kind of
it's it's bizarre. Stephen Chow was initially approached to direct. If you don't know Stephen Chow, he did Kung Fu Hustle, Shaolin Soccer, a bunch of just rad martial arts movies. But he ended up producing this, which is weird because it's so not good. And then Robert Rodriguez and Zack Snyder turned down this movie as well.
I
And then
can
it went to
I really
James
wish
Wong.
I can only imagine if Zack Snyder did it. Oh my god,
That'd be weird.
that'd be
It'd be
such
so
an
dark.
such an interesting movie. It's way more interesting of a movie.
They'd be like, Goku, but your grandpa Gohan. And he'd look at the camera and just go, fuck Gohan.
Tell me, Gohan, do you bleed? So,
Martha.
Martha, Chi Chi. We
But
were
what's
talking
weird,
about
like, hold on. The director James Wong, like you watch this movie, right? And you would think this might be like a first full-length film or something because it's so like weird. It's so off on everything. But this dude has worked on a ton of stuff. X-Files, American Horror Story, and he's produced like a ton of stuff that's considered fairly competent, you know? Even directed one of the Final Destination movies. The guy who plays the one bully, the guy Texas
Yeah, yeah.
Battle, he's in
Awesome,
he's
awesome
in the
name by the
Final
way.
Destination movie this guy
Fantastic
produced,
name
Final
by the way.
Destination 3.
What's funny
Best
is
name.
all the stuff you've been telling me about some of the people on there. You'd think it would be good. You'd think it would at
Oh,
least
maybe.
look good and maybe just not be good from a fan perspective. But it
Yeah.
doesn't. Nothing really was good about it. But I want to know what is your favorite part of the movie to think about? Mine is definitely at the end. I told you earlier about how Chi-Chi did almost nothing the whole movie, and then Goku, after defeating Piccolo, Chi-Chi's like, "Let's see who's better," and then they get in a
Yeah,
martial
let's
arts
see who would
match.
win.
It's just
I
like, what?
actually
I
I
thought
think
that
the
part
thing
was
that makes
hilarious.
me the maddest about this movie is the weird post-credit scene where usually you use the post-credit scene to highlight something cool and new for a sequel, and there's somebody hidden under a blanket as this older Asian woman comes to their aid, and I immediately thought, oh, it's Vegeta, it's got to be, and no, it's Piccolo again. There's nothing new for you in the next one. If there is, it's just Piccolo again.
It wasn't
But I
even
would assume they'd go with the good guy arc,
it
right?
wasn't even built like the Piccolo Jr. who comes back as a villain. It's just like that's the exact same Piccolo.
Yeah, yeah. They didn't do anything with that at all. It was very bizarre. It was very because why would you look forward to the second one? Oh, great, Piccolo is back. Okay,
It's the
cool.
exact same
Can't wait.
movie.
Can't wait for the same movie again.
So what kind of stuff do they have on the Blu-ray features?
Oh boy, I actually kind of wish you could see this because there's this thing called Goku's Workout where the two stuntmen pretend to do a bunch of stupid workouts with a ton of CG. It's weird because some Blu-ray releases do these little like cutesy things that are supposed to be really funny, and then they just end up being really cringy. So that's one of them. Some deleted scenes that are pretty missable. Um, the cool one that I thought anyway was they talked to Justin Chatwin. They like have these film students talk to him, and it's kind of passable or whatever. But I think if you're like an aspiring actor, it's kind of cool for him to talk about everything, even though he's not. He's not a Robert De Niro or anything. He's just a working class actor. But
Yeah.
it's still kind of cool to hear him talk about the business and break it down. And he still gets into a little bit of Dragon Ball stuff, but it's mainly about his career and everything, which I think is really interesting.
I couldn't
It's
imagine
perspective
being
you don't hear about.
I couldn't imagine being a fan on that set and just watching them do stuff and like work on the movie, and you're just like every single day you're like, what are they? This is gonna be awful.
Well, what's weird is like I don't think Justin Chatwin was a bad pick for Goku. I said this earlier. I don't think they had him play it up enough. I think the biggest mistake was making this based on the original Dragon Ball series instead of Z because I would go into theater expecting Z, and then it'd be like, ah, what? No.
Well, I
And
thought
you could set up Z.
what they could have done is, which I thought was a sort of a good idea, is they should have taken a lot of stuff throughout the series and just tried to work it into a its own movie. Because whereas you get something like the last Airbender movie, where it's like you tried to copy the whole thing and cram it into a movie, and that's one of the that's a key reason why it was so horrible, because it was so hard to watch. But here they try to do their own thing, but for the most part they try to just like set up the one story arc. They should have I think what they should have done is taken the things people like and very iconic things and worked them together into one movie.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
because they
maybe
already
just
set up the sci-fi stuff. That's in
yeah.
here, and they don't push it far enough. Which what their biggest complaint was like, we don't want too many characters because then we have to concentrate on all of them, and it would look too weird having like conflicting aesthetics. But like you've already set up this weird modern futuristic thing, so like why not push it all the way and have everyone already there? Have Piccolo already part of the homie crew. Have Vegeta already there, and set up Frieza. That's what I would have done. My movie would have been Frieza.
Yeah, it probably would work better. They could have there's so many things they could have done to make it more understandable and easier to watch, because Dragon Ball is not a complex series, doesn't have a hard to follow plot. They literally could have done one of the tournaments, like they could have done the Budokai tournament, and it probably
Yeah,
would have worked out way better. And it could have just been Goku versus Piccolo Jr. and it just that it's just that. It's just a
yeah.
movie where he goes in the tournament, he explains like I just want to be the best, and for some reason there's stakes on the line and he has to win the tournament for some reason, and it's just cool martial arts, a movie with some energy blasts and a couple character names that you would understand if you've read the comic or watched the show, and then at the end, you could set up to do a sequel if it did well
And
enough.
and that's all you need too for a Dragon Ball movie.
Yeah,
That's all anybody. That's all people really like. I mean, primarily, I guess, is the martial arts and the over-the-top super moves and blowing up moons and shit.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, no one goes in Dragon Ball thinking like I'm ready to have my mind expanded on this crazy story. They're just ready to see a lot of fun stuff.
So I'm reading here that they initially it was told that the movie had a budget of 100 million, and then it
Jesus,
was told that it was 50 million, and then James Marsters, who plays Piccolo, said it was 30 million.
what the
I didn't even
happened?
think he was bad as Piccolo. Like I don't think any of these guys were the problem here.
It was a lot of the writing and just some of the things that didn't really make sense or mesh well together or give any form of Dragon Ball feel. Like I was laughing because you told me I actually didn't know there was a video game for Dragon Ball Evolution, and I went and looked it up, and it looks better than the movie. Like the
Yeah, it
Kamehameha
really
in the in
does.
the in the movie is just like a wind blast, but in the video game it's actually accurate. It's like big energy beam. It
And the fight moves are cooler. Like they showed like different counters where like Piccolo like disappears behind Goku and then kicks him in the back and stuff. The instant transmission type stuff.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, there's just not a lot of coordination between like, hey, we're making a movie based off of a really famous Japanese comic. Maybe we should know something about the source material before we make this movie.
I also would have ditched the giant monkey and added in Super Saiyan
I
because that's
I
what people would want to see.
I agree. Oh, they like something like, for instance, if you've ever seen Gotham, they doesn't follow Batman's story at all, but it takes a lot of the elements and works its way into its own thing. And I think if
Yeah.
they did that with Dragon Ball, as long as it was entertaining, people would have been fine with it.
Oh yeah.
Even if things like
It
this timeline doesn't make sense to the comic, like, oh yeah, but was it fun to watch? Like, yeah, it was fun to
and
watch.
I kind of wonder if that's a problem too. Like if a new Batman movie comes out, we kind of have like a million different Batman continuities that we can kind of use as reference. We can be like, oh well, that Batman's sort of like this, and then this Joker's like this, so it's not a big deal. But with Dragon Ball, you really just have the main timeline, and then I guess whatever the hell GT is. So it's I could see it being harder to interpret it as anything but primary Dragon Ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they try too hard to make it their own version while not kind of being grounded somewhere towards the original.
It's a really weird mix of so much and then nothing. And the other thing I think is really weird too is there's not many Easter eggs for any fans of
Yeah,
the series. There's no secret references or anything, which every movie with any movie that's been based on anything always keeps little Easter eggs in there for the fans to kind of pick at. There's really none of that. Everything's really plain. The sets are kind of boring. Most of this, and this isn't even a joke, most of this film was shot in an abandoned jeans factory in Mexico, and it actually kind of shows. Like everything's just these boring sets. It's
Makes
kind
you
of
wonder where
sad.
the $30 million budget went if most of it was shot in a abandoned factory.
Well, I'm sure like them thinking it was a big budget film, I'm sure everyone got paid pretty well, and that's probably where most of it went.
Ugh.
It just
This
looks like a cheap looks like a cheap Asian film
it
at the
looks
end of
like
the day.
it looks like a really good YouTuber's video.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, yeah. At least the capsule stuff look cool.
Yeah, the capsule stuff did look cool. I mean, there's that.
One of my
Also,
favorite things was
Master Roshi's house.
yeah,
It's like,
that was
hey,
cool.
we're in a future city. Where are we gonna find this old martial arts master? Hey, there's a rock with a small old like brick house in the middle of like a
Yeah.
crater of like a future city. I wonder where this guy lives.
See, and on paper I like that. It just didn't translate well,
Nope.
you know.
Yeah, the movie it will forever just be known as one of those key staple of very very bad live action anime movies, but secretly
One thing
good
I
because it brought the author out of retirement.
Yeah. I do like though. I don't know if you recall when this was coming out, but that weekend they were already talking about the sequel. They were talking about a Dragon Ball Evolution 2,
Oh
and
God.
even Chow Yun Fat was wearing contacts to get ready to become Roshi again for part 2, and then I think it made 9 million its opening week. Oh, four point eight
What was
four.
its total?
Yeah, combined box office gross of 57 million, and it opened in 8th place that weekend. I don't know what it was
That's
up against. And the
hilarious.
second weekend it dropped to 11th. So
I wish they did a sequel and it was a smash hit, just to see like those jumps. That would have been funny. But yeah, the movie
it could be cool if they did a sequel. If they obviously you get a whole new director and writer and you just pick up and then make the good movie,
maybe
you
one
know?
day they'll try again. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else to say? That's pretty solid for me on my part. I don't have anything else. We're going for a bit. It's been like 17 minutes.
I think we pretty much covered everything. Every time I do one of these, it's always like 10 minutes after. I'm like, damn it, I forgot to talk about the tie-in sticker book. I forgot to talk about the tie-in video game. We cover the video game
Well,
though,
clearly
which
we'll
is
get to
clutch.
this is just going to be right before they announce the DLC for Fighter Z and Xenoverse, since they have the Justin Chadwick character in there.
I would pay an extra $60 for Smash Brothers if they include the Justin Chatwin Goku as a playable character.
Yes, this is a good idea. We'll write some letters. Anyway, yeah,
We'll pitch
that
it.
seems good for me. Check out Full Custom Hot Dog on YouTube. He's got great movie reviews. Does them daily.
And check out my boy Rax on YouTube. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. If you're
As
into
will
anime
I.
and manga, he's the #1 king. Also noted recently as the king of Tokusatsu. So very good. Congratulations, Rax.
Thanks. And check out Full Custom Hot Dog on Twitter as a Full Custom Hot Dog without the last O, because that is just too long for Twitter. And I
And
will,
until next time.
yeah, see you guys.